welcome to Excuse My ADHD, a podcast for adults with or who think they may have ADHD. I'm your host, Jeanette, and this is my journey. You are listening to Excuse My ADHD special episode 0, where I explain what I am doing and why you should listen. I'm your host, Jeanette, and I am coming to you from Kentucky, the bluegrass state, also known for our thoroughbreds and our bourbon. Okay, so I know you're probably sitting there thinking, excuse my ADHD. What is this about? What is this chick trying to make excuses for her ADHD or apologize for it? The answer's no, neither one. I am chronicling my journey through dealing with, coping, and finally accepting and working with my ADHD. In other words, you could call it sort of an ADHD diary. My hope is that you will relate to some or all of what I'm going through and feel less alone in your struggles. For a long time, I thought I was broken, and it wasn't until I was diagnosed 2 years ago that I realized that wasn't true. Yeah, I think about things differently, and I feel things differently than what quote-unquote neurotypicals do. That's okay. I want you to be able to learn from my mistakes so you can avoid them. Learn something new about ADHD that you didn't know. Or just find something useful, a tip, or something meaningful that you can use in your life. My aspiration is to create through this podcast a home for others like us to come together and find a judgment-free zone. I want you to feel safe enough to share your stories, ask questions, offer suggestions, or just say hi, whether it's through my podcast, website, or on my social media. Eventually, as I share your stories and you open up to me and talk to each other, this will no longer just be about me. It'll be about all of us. I feel like sharing our stories, our wins and our losses, our failings, and the day after when we get back up and are just so resilient will help people understand more about ADHD and maybe help lift some of the stigma. It's hard to really understand from just reading about it in a text or an article, but when you hear it from those who have it, I think it changes your perception. It changed mine. When I read Taking Charge of Adult ADHD by Russell Barkley, I realized I had no idea what ADHD really was, and that what I thought I knew was just completely wrong. And then when I read Driven to Distraction by Ed Hallowell and John Rady, and I could relate to the very first case study in that book, I cried. And I don't even think I was a full chapter in, maybe just a couple of pages. And I realized I'm not alone. But it wasn't until I listened to a podcast interview of someone tell their story on ADHD Rewired with Eric Tivers that I really knew I wasn't alone. I felt a connection with that person that I didn't get from just reading. I could feel the pain in their struggle through their voice, and that's just not something you can get from reading an article or a book. So I thought that this might be a good idea, a way to get my story out, and maybe others can relate to it, and maybe they can share their stories too. So now that you know my why, let's talk about the what. So the show will start as you would expect, a diary, just yours truly laying out my daily struggles of my life with ADHD. I'm posting this plus 2 more episodes, and we'll post a new one every other Monday night, so bi-weekly. I also have a website, www.excusemyadhd.com, where I'll be posting my show notes, my links, random tips, tricks, videos, links to apps, or just any tidbit I find helpful, interesting, or something I find funny because, well, who doesn't like to laugh once in a while? If you like what you're hearing, please continue to listen and also subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen. I'm also on all the social media, so go to the website for the links to follow and friend me so we can start a conversation. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to going on this journey with you. Thank you for listening to Excuse My ADHD. If you like what you hear, don't forget to please subscribe, rate, and leave an awesome review. Show notes and social media links are available at www.excusemyadhd.com. Until next time.